Importance of actually ensuring that you build competent teams that can actually step in when you're not around is critical, specifically when you're a leader of leaders and you're actually not just a manager. So succession becomes a very critical thing to actually be able to put in place.
It's about understanding what is important, what is urgent, what is urgent, not important, and what is important and urgent, and recognizing when to lean into what becomes so important. Welcome to episode 3. From glass ceilings to corner offices, women leaders transforming the game. I am privileged today to have with me Nomonde White Ndlovu, the CIO of Bidvest Bank, with a stellar career that spans across multinational giants like Absa Group, British American Tobacco, and UCS Solutions. Nomonde has been a driving force in shaping the tech landscape. As a former head of governance, risk and compliance at Absa and joint CIO for their infrastructure services, she's navigated complex challenges with unmatched expertise. Nomonde is also the chairperson of the Wired for Women, where she champions the upliftment and recognition of women in technology, passionately advocating for gender parity in the workplace. Her commitment to excellence is further highlighted by her Golden Key honorary membership from the University of Witwatersrand and her role as a One Young World Ambassador since 2015. Armed with an MBA from the Gordon Institute of Business Science, a BA Law from WITS, and advanced courses from MIT, Harvard, and the London School of Economics, Nomonde is a dynamic leader with a focus on business strategy, leadership, and organizational efficiency. Her journey is one of relentless pursuit of innovation and excellence. Let's dive in and learn from her incredible experiences. Nomonde, welcome to our episode 3 of the Leadership Pulse, and we are so excited to have you here. You know, in our preparation conversation a few weeks ago, I said to you that, we were talking at the women's event a few weeks ago as well, and part of that preparation, we unpacked so many golden nuggets that women are dealing with. And I thought, what an amazing opportunity to chat to you in this Women's Month. And today is nearly the last day of Women's Month.
Yeah.
And what better way than to celebrate amazing women such as yourself that have really been trailblazers in the industry. So I want to touch there. What has your journey been like? And what we're going to spend our time on this morning is really looking at what are some of the challenges women face, but inside of that, what are some of the things that makes them our own worst enemies? What do we do to unstick ourselves from the stickiness that we find ourselves in? And our parting shot would be, what would be some of the things and the strategies that we can leave other women so that we really live up to the idea of lifting others, women, as we rise, right? So that's kind of the theme of where I'd like our podcast to go to, especially for all of those amazing women that are tuning in today. So let's jump straight in. Nomonde, tell us a little bit about you, about your journey, and let's go from there.
Oh, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. Happy Women's Month to you, as well as all of the incredible ladies who are watching this podcast today. Thank you for the invitation. Me, a little bit about Nomonde. I'm a mom to two gorgeous little humans. My daughter's name is Nkanyezi. My son's name is Langalibalele. I'm married to, I guess, my best friend. We've known each other for a very, very long time. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. And also, I think I enjoy corporate a lot. I'm a woman who's enjoyed corporate a lot. I accidentally fell into technology, actually, because I studied politics and law. Wow. But I've never practiced a day in my life. And I just fell in love with the journey of being able to navigate through different challenges every day, because when you work in tech, no one day is ever the same. Educated at WITS, and I then went to GIFT to actually do my MBA because I was deeply interested in leadership. So while I may have fallen into technology, I think where I've been able to find my niche is with the ability of taking business principles that need to be solved and explaining it in technical language, and taking technical speak from incredible techies and explaining that into business language. So having the ability to be able to bridge that gap has actually made me grow exponentially in my role. And I've loved it. I think it's an industry that has helped me grow, has seen me grow, which I'll forever cherish and value. So that's just a short synopsis.
Nice. That's amazing. It sounds like you really have a gift to be able to link and simplify things for different audiences. And it speaks right back to, your intro. You speak about these multiple roles that all women and all people for that matter have. You speak about the role of being a mom, a sister, a daughter, a wife, a friend. As we balance all of these roles, people look at a Nomonde or any other amazing, successful people and think, well, they must have come easy.
Sure.
Was it?
No. I don't think anything worth having in life is ever easy. I think it's just like the intentionality of actually how you're trying to carve out your life would actually be critically important. And there's obviously other aspects that we don't really talk about. I think when you aspire to leadership roles, specifically executive roles, there are really hard conversations that no one actually unpacks with regards to the sacrifices that actually come with those things. Because somebody might look at you as a CEO and make assumptions that, you look amazing, first of all, that hair. But so you would assume you wake up like this every day. But there are genuine sacrifices that you would potentially have to make. And I think what you spoke about now, a lot of women navigate through triple shifts because you don't just necessarily have the luxury to be able to do one thing. But what I will actually own first up is the position of privilege to actually be able to have help that would actually help you do the things that you can't get to when you need to do those. And a lot of the time we don't talk about that, like what comes with enabling you to be able to do the things that you do. We're privileged to actually have full-time help that actually assists with my kids. My husband's an entrepreneur, so at least one of us has more flexibility than the other, right? Because he works for himself. But in a corporate career, unfortunately, specifically when you're an executive, although we all aspire to ensuring that you have a work-life balance, but I don't think that actually exists. I think what does exist is more like work-life integration. And what we all need to learn how to do is to lean into what's important at any point in time. And what I mean by that is if my child is ill and needs to go into hospital, and then there's work that I need to do, but there's nothing necessarily critical, I need to lean into my son needing me, right? If I need to rush him to hospital for whatever, that's what needs me at that point in time. I always use this analogy of a glass ball, and all of us are granted one glass ball in life, right? So which we need to treat with fragility. When that ball falls down onto the floor, it's cracked. Putting it back together will always have like shards that come in. So you will bleed because it's cracked. So what we need to understand is on one hand you have your glass ball, on the other hand you have your plastic ball. At any point in time you need to know what is plastic and what's glass. The plastic balls and the things in your life that are deemed to be critical and important, if it can bounce back and no one is hurt, no one is damaged from that, you need to allow plastic to actually fall down. The things that will crack and create shards and create pain are the things that you should ever, never drop. Yeah. And at any point in time, you might find that work becomes my glass ball. Because when you are leading, right, you're leading an organization, you're leading individuals. In this South Africa, which is one of the most unequal countries in the world, we have a responsibility as leaders to ensure that people stay employed. So you actually want to run successful businesses which thrive, which can actually contribute to the economy generally. So if there's something critical that I need to do, and my child is fine, they are healthy, and I actually need to be in the office until 9 because things need to get done, that's my glass ball at that point in time.
Correct.
If my child is sick, that's my glass ball at that point in time. Yeah. So the shifting of what becomes glass, what becomes plastic is never static. Yeah. It actually has to change, and depending on where you are at, those things would actually need to shift. Yeah. But also, I think it's also critically important to communicate these things to your family, because I think when you're raising small children, and my son is 2, my daughter is 9, and you've actually chosen to have a career, because I've chosen to actually have a career, there are things that you're going to miss. Not because you want to, but just life will happen like that. If you're traveling and you're not around when there's something important happening, it's heartbreaking. So I want to acknowledge and own that, to say this whole juggling and navigating is never really an easy thing, specifically when your child says, but I would have wanted you to be there.
Yes.
Right? And you know that you're carrying a glass bowl, which is not this at this point in time.
Yes.
But I appreciate community, and community is what all of us need to build, where my mom will step in, my husband will step in, my sister will step in moments that I actually can't do that. And I which I'm sure we're going to unpack today, Mel, the whole notion of community, and not thinking that you live in isolation in a vacuum, that you need to carry this load all by yourself, is what actually would potentially lead anyone to actually break down. So I fundamentally believe in the concept of community, but I think it's important to reiterate the fact that having these jobs, as you would know better than me, is not easy. It's not something that just happens overnight. It takes hard work to actually get here. And it also takes a lot of sacrifice, but a lot of support and a lot of community that are going to actually help you become successful in what you do.
Yeah. It's amazing, the analogy that you've used, and I'd love for us to explore a little bit more around the community and the allyship and all of that as we go through this conversation. What I want to hone in on is this analogy of the glass bowl versus the plastic bowl, knowing when to use which, and recognizing that, yes, there are seasons in the day, in our life, that we need to lean into either the glass bowl and into the plastic bowl. And what you said is so important, because it's about understanding what is important, what's important, what is urgent, what is urgent, not important, and what is important and urgent, and recognizing when to lean into what becomes so important. And what you wrapped that up with is the communicating to the family and to those most important in those multiple roles that we play, to say to our families that there are seasons for when work will take priority, because right now the fragility of it is that if I drop this ball, something will break. And other times it's, sorry, work, but my family takes priority right now. I'm juggling a glass ball with my family. And that, which you have said, is such a critical decision-making point for women in the multiple roles that we play. Because I was reading a research study, and one of the things that came out of this study was that women find it harder to make that decision around prioritizing family, because it's deemed to be, well, if you're going to, the ability to climb the ladder is, well, okay, you're prioritizing family more than a man would.
Sure.
And that's not true. It's because you are choosing family in one situation does not mean that work is not important. It's recognizing when to prioritize what. And you've held so many roles, and big roles, right? All the way from being assistant CIO in ABSA, to being now CIO at Bidvest Bank. How are you able to make the people that you lead and the family understand that this is where you are? What is the starting block? What would be the advice that you would give other women in senior leadership? What advice would you give them to be able to still recognize that both of these are important, but there are seasonalities to when you lean into what?
Sure. So we're really going to go there today, hey? Like, talk about the stuff that's really people that we don't talk about, because these are not popular topics. Actually, so thank you for going into real things that women would actually navigate through. I just want to start by owning the fact that I'm human and I'm fallible as a starting point. So I'm pretty certain I get things wrong a lot, specifically when it comes to my family. And me assuming I'm doing the right thing, I might be dropping the ball and doing, the wrong thing. So there's no perfect formula. So I just want to state that I know there's no perfect formula, and I'm just trying to figure it out myself. But I think what's critical for me, specifically in decision making, when it relates to my children, is well-being, their well-being. I think Muzi and I, the critical thing that I think we talk about, like what will speak to success as parents, is to raise kind human beings who contribute to the world in a meaningful way. Kids who are confident in who they are and who know that their voices matter. In a world that is loud and is, clouded by mean-spirited intention sometimes, it's for them to know that there is a place for kindness in the world, and there's a place to actually be a good person. We actually want to raise good people. So the critical things that require me to ensure that I plow into that, I will always make the time for. So for me, although it might seem small, Sundays are non-negotiable for me with my family, because on Sundays, that's the day that I cook with my daughter. And I spend time with all of them together, because during the week is a write-off. Last night I got home at 9 p.m. My kids were sleeping by the time I actually got home. So during the week is dicey. And we've gotten into the cadence with my daughter when I do come home early, and early is relative because that could be 6, 7 o'clock. If I have an opportunity to cook dinner, well, ask her, what great thing happened today that made you feel good? What were some of the things that didn't actually make you feel good? So asking conversations at a human level, I found that has helped me connect with her more. I'm now trying something different with her, because she's 9, she's older. My son is 2. I think he doesn't remember anything. But just spending intentional time, where 2 months ago we went away on a girls' trip. It's just me and her. It was a day and night thing where we went to the spa. I had lunch, I had dinner, but it was dedicated time, which was just about her. And on Sunday, we did the movies. What was it? Inside Out 2 or something like that. I could be getting it wrong. But what I'm appreciating, as she allows me into her life to get to know certain things with choosing the movies that she wants to watch, is that it's really things that she watches which have like a lesson and a meaning towards the end. But I'm trying to lean into learning her a little bit more, but I have to be intentional with it. So I made a decision with myself this year, though, to say at least twice a week I want to get home by 5. So I can actually spend time, versus, a year ago, 2 years ago, I was flat out working like 6 days a week, which wasn't right. And I felt that I'm missing out on moments that I'm never going to get back. And I don't want to be a stranger to my children, where you're able to provide material things that actually make us comfortable, but she's missed out on me. I don't want my child or my kids sitting in therapy years down the line because they didn't have access to me, and the rest of the world actually did. So it's just being, at the moment, although it's just one critical day where I'm violently protective of my Sunday or weekends where it's actually possible to do so. So that's the one aspect of family. And of course, if there's an emergency where my kids go to hospital, and it's happened where Langa needed to go into the hospital at night, I will be there. So whatever it is, because when you have a competent team, you can pick up the phone and actually say, listen, I can't be in because of XYZ. And I mean, I work for a woman who has children. She's absolutely incredible as well. So that actually helps in terms of being able to say, listen, I know this actually needed to be done, but this is what I have done and this is who you can talk to. So the importance of actually ensuring that you build competent teams that can actually step in when you're not around is critical, specifically when you're a leader of leaders and you're actually not just a manager. So succession becomes a very critical thing to actually be able to put in place. But I also appreciate that there will be moments where I do need to be away. I do need to travel because there's something that needs to land. There's a deal that actually needs to happen that we need to get over the line. There's a big program that we need to do for the bank where I have a conversation. And with my daughter, you must tell her, because if you don't, it's like, where are you going? Why are you not here?
Yeah.
So I must explain, like, I'm going away for work. This is the project that mommy's working on. This is when I'm going to be back. I'll call you every day and we'll video call. Because I do need to give that, like, assurance to them as well. So it comes down, again, Mel, to what you said around continuous communication about what's happening everywhere, where nothing should be off the table. So she knows that mommy's working, and in working, this is what working does for us. We're able to pay for school fees. We're able to go on holiday when we're going to go on holiday. So when you and I go to the shops to buy stuff to cook, this is what money does. So the correlation of why we work. So it doesn't just seem like I'm away for the sake of being away. And I found that, like, having those conversations with her has actually helped her understand what I do and explaining what I do as well, where she can be like, oh, that's my mom. And I think a moment of like, I'm like, I must be doing something right. She actually did a speech about me and my job. So I'm like, okay, it actually helps that I'm talking these things through. So, Mal, I think it boils down to continuous conversations all the time with work and with home. And sometimes it's misses and I get it absolutely wrong and there's tears and I must apologize. But sometimes it's a win and I'm not beating myself up because I missed important stuff. And I think I'll always be in this cycle. There's never going to be a time where I feel like I'm winning at all of it.
I just want to summarize all of those great things that you've shared for some of our women that are listening to this. You've said some incredible things around balance. In the work that we do at Franklin Covey, one of the critical statements that we make as we teach other leaders to do this is things that matter most should never be at the mercy of things that matters least. What you have described is a practical guide on what to do to make sure that things that matter most are not at the mercy of things that matter least. How have you done that? I want to summarize. You have ensured that you make sure you carved out time, which is a day for now, and it's a Sunday that you violently hang on to, and you will not allow other things to get into that space because it's protective. Because what you are doing in that protective space, and I'm hoping that our listeners are going to glean out of this, what you are hoping to get from that protective space is to create a kind of human being that recognizes that when you're out into the world, it's not just about making money, but money does buy you certain things, but it creates this kind of lifestyle. As you are doing that, though, on the personal side, what I really appreciated what you shared is what you do when you are in your professional space. You build a competent team. A competent team that when you have to step away to attend to those things that matter most in that moment, you also know that things that matter most at the work front are being handled with competence. And you have enabled that by creating a highly competent team that you can feel confident will get the job done. What you've also done exceptionally well in your story is you've had transparent conversations around why you are doing what you do, so that there's an understanding of why is mom away. as opposed to, my mom's never here. Which can be the narrative that can be created in the absence of information.
Yeah.
Right? What I'm hearing you say also is the real big importance of an allyship. You speak about Muzi and your conversations with him around what parenthood must look like, what we want your little humans to look like, how must they contribute into this world. So talk to us a little bit about allyship. I see allyship both, from a personal and professional piece. I always talk about this idea that when we see expert professionals out there, incredible women doing incredible things, there are other people
100%.
that's, right there.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit more around that.
Sure. Thank you for the question, specifically on allyship, because I think it's an important one, right? I think I want to start by saying, do you know how we partner matters, right? Regardless of whether we're in a same-sex relationship or whether it's a male-female relationship, it doesn't matter. How we partner matters because the people we end up with have a massive contribution to how your life is actually going to turn out. So if you are an ambitious person and then you partner with someone who is not, who would have expected me to be at home all the time while he's out there, and the expectation is that I need to shrink and be less than who he is, would probably be a partnership where I wouldn't have been able to thrive. And in this day and age, for me anyway, I think for anyone who is a career person, and I'm speaking from my own experience, I'm not trying to delineate anybody else's experience, it's so important to partner with someone who's comfortable in their own skin and who's crystal on who they are as a human being, because regardless of how your career may transition, it will never threaten them.
Yeah.
If anything, they become your biggest advocate, your biggest cheerleader. And I think the reason why I have been able to grow and move from a career perspective is because I literally had my husband as my own personal board of directors. He's one of them, around, I think this decision's not right, and I don't know why you think you can't do this job. You're going to do it. We'll figure it out as you go. So that voice of actually saying you've got this has actually been critical in terms of how I have turned out. I mean, I've driven crazy, I must tell you. And we were laughing about it the other day where he said, if really I was a man who wanted to control you, I would have lost my mind a long time ago because you don't listen, which is true. I don't always concede to actually listen. So that component of partnering is so important. And I remember reading an article when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away around her relationship with her husband and how he was advocating for her to be one of the Supreme Justices. And he would be the one who will help to bake cakes, to send it through to people to say, my wife is doing this. And she said when she got into her job, every time it was somebody's birthday, the partners would bake a cake. And obviously she was a female, so she was one of the justices. And the other justices, their wives would bake. And he baked. So she came in with a cake to say, my husband baked a cake. Happy birthday, right? So I think we all need people in our lives who are rooting for us. And we can actually still the noise when actually that happens. But outside of allyship within the family ecosystem, because it's so important, and often, if we're honest, but I guess that's a topic for another day, there are also a lot of female executives who are divorced.
Yeah.
Because they chose themselves, ultimately, because there was so much contention in the household.
Yeah.
But that must be a separate conversation that actually is unpacked around the other side when you're actually wanting to chase a career and when you choose yourself and what the implications of choosing self actually are, which is something we actually don't unpack and talk about. And then there's allyship in the workspace. So we know that on the JSC, less than 10% of the CEO jobs there are actually held by women, which is most unfortunate because you have so many competent female leaders within our ecosystem. I'm just blessed to be part of an organization which is led by a female CEO, and Bumi is absolutely amazing. If you meet her, she's the most humble human being you'll ever come across, and one of the smartest human beings I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. So they actually do exist. But there are also men who are vocal about advocating for women. And to you, we see you, we appreciate. I'm a product of that. I'm a product of having had male executives actually saying, I am going to show you what it takes to actually understand strategy. And big up to some of my biggest advocates who I still talk to today. And I think sometimes it's important to give people their flowers when they're alive.
Yes.
So, Wilhelm Gracha, this is for you. To Etienne Slabbe, thank you very much. To all of the men who've played like a critical role in helping to actually drive my career, because they spoke my name in spaces that I actually wasn't there, and they believed that I could. So they literally threw me into opportunities that were, at the time, I felt were too big, but they trusted the process that it would work out. And then it did work out. But equally, I've had allies who are female who have rooted for me, who still do. Asanda Kakana, Amanda Dambuza. There's a list of people that I could actually name. Hannah Siddiqui, Balisa as well, Bumi herself. I have a community of men and women who've always rooted for me, who actually want me to intentionally win, who pull me aside when I'm failing at something or doing something wrong, to say, this is not how you do this, there's a better way. And you always want people who'll be honest with you, even if that honesty is going to hurt, because they want you to be better. And saying that, however, there are other people who will not necessarily always want you to win, who think that they could do it better than you. So be mindful of the information that you actually take in, because feedback is a gift, but it's not a gift you always have to accept if it's coming from a source that doesn't want you to actually do well and win. And sometimes we think we need to take all of that in and change who we are, but I fundamentally don't believe in changing the essence of who you are when you're actually on a leadership journey, because you don't want to twist yourself into a pretzel that you can't get out of because of this notion of likability, right? That I want to be liked. If I'm liked by everybody, my life will actually be great. It will be better. Because the reality is, and I think I heard this video today, and I was like, shoo, that's quite deep, but it sounds weird on the ear, but I get it. Where this gentleman was saying, I've learned that it's okay not to be nice. Because being nice has led me into situations of being used, of being rejected by people. What I aspire to is to be a good person. And there's a difference between the two. Because when I am a good person, I'll approach everything from a point of respect and not from a point of trying to cause any harm to somebody else. But it's okay to be violently protective of your peace of mind and still want to do the right thing and not allow people like within your ecosystem who are going to mess with your nervous system because their intentions for your life are actually not good. So be able to discern who are real allies and who are people who are not allies and who you shouldn't be listening to. And on that note, I'd say you actually need to trust your gut more, because you can't always lean into, I'm seeing Nomonde, I think if I talk to her, she might guide me in the right direction of my career. Meanwhile, our energies don't align. And you probably are going to get not much from me because our energies, our values actually don't align. But I'm sure we'll get into the topic of mentorship and the importance of that as we go. But I think I'll pause there on the concept of allyship.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And what I want to extract out of that is the two components that you brought in. One is the allyship at home, because, I mean, often, choosing that right partner, very often the partners that we've chosen, our careers have not taken off yet.
True.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we've chosen the person and we don't know where our careers are going. So it's really, really so important for us to recognize this person that I'm with, will they be there with me and for my growth? Or are they going to feel anxious and jealous of where what the trajectory of my growth looks like? Similar to your environment, my husband has just been my pillar of strength. I mean, I remember when I was in corporate at the time, and for reasons that I choose not to speak about now, I decided to walk away. I got into my car after handing in my resignation. I got into my car and then realized, oh, Lord, what have I done? I gave my husband a call and I said, I just resigned from my job. And he said, yeah. And so I said, oh, well, what do we do about money? And he said, don't worry, we'll figure it out.
Sure.
He's a chartered accountant by profession. So he's quite pedantic about every single thing that goes out. So, here's my backstop. So I often say that people see me up on stage and I do all of these amazing keynotes. What they may not know is that every single slide that they would see, I have not done any work on that.
I love it for you.
So he would get to the point of ensuring that when I'm there doing my thing, that everything is perfect. Because he wants to make sure that I'm set up for success.
I love that.
He knows that I'm busy in all the multiple roles that I play, to the point that he would do all the reading of everything that's going on and give me quick nuggets of what's going on so that I'm absolutely current.
Sure.
So we talk about that allyship and, in a home environment, we come from spaces where it would seem that it has to be quite patriarchal. And we are okay that, I lead the business.
Yeah.
And if in the absence of his role there, to do everything else that happens to lead the business forward, there would be so many gaps, and he just closes them, which really enables us to lead from the front, knowing that you've got a strong backstop.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about allyship, what I heard you say is you had individuals that were able to bring your name to the table whilst you were not there.
Absolutely.
So being able to build strong allyship also implies that we need to back it up if we want people to advocate for us.
Absolutely.
So it is a critical balance of the two currencies that you and I spoke about, right? That relationship currency, with all these women that know that if they put your name there, you're going to show up
100%.
and back it up.
Absolutely.
To all the men that are there, that's going to, they're going to put your name forward. They know that you're going to show up. You're going to back it up, because from a performance currency perspective, you've demonstrated your competence to get the job done. And the right energies in the space, right? The ability to build strong relationships. That is what needs to be in place for us to develop the idea of allyship.
Yeah.